All right, so what's up? What's up? It's Choose here, Gen X human who knows nothing at all, still learning like everybody else. That's the intro. That's it. That's all. Now, last time we were talking about Dolton, we wanted to know, or I at least wanted to know, where did this go wrong? So, after listening to the campaign kickoff, I came across this in the Chicago Tribune, um, Daily Southtown. 6 months in, Dolton Mayor and her dream team has become a nightmare. 6 months in, hold on, before we go there and read that article, because this is very, very interesting. Let's listen to what everyone had to say, not the whole thing. We're just going to hear some snippets of what was said at the campaign kickoff, and then we're going to take a look at this particular article. Okay, so here, we're just going to start here and kind of listen to see if we can get any kind of indication of what went wrong in that first 6 months. Now, I'm not looking at anything else. We're listening to this, but keeping in mind what went wrong in that first 6 months.
And guess what? They're willing to do the work. And again, like I told you, it's not going to be easy. We are up for a fight. Man, I've been lied on, and I ain't got nothing to do with this. I wouldn't even live here.
Okay. I paused it there because what I'm trying to figure out, number one, is if we were 6 months into into Tiffany being mayor, and it seems like within that, I don't know, 6 months or so. So I get that would be the first question. When did you work there again? Because we really want to know what happened in 6 months, and you don't live here. I just know or remember, I guess, because I don't know what you all have been doing the last 20 years, that everyone's been saying that they live there. So I'm going to take it back a little bit further when a village wanted people running for elections, people who represent those people running for their town to be from their town. I've heard a lot of stuff about you don't live here, you don't live here, you don't live here. You have to make that apply to everybody or leave that one alone. But anyway, that's another story. She don't live here.
I'm just here because I feel I have a moral obligation to the people who I started coming here with, so I'm not giving up on y'all.
No, she absolutely. You can feel that you have a moral or obligation. You can feel that way. I mean, I don't know. Your face just looks angry. So you have to look at how people are mannerisms, how they're looking. Not to, and this is not a physical diss. This is look into people's spirits. Look at what they're saying. Look at how they're saying it. If you had a grandmother like my grandmother, is not what you say, is how you say it, and also is the true motives behind what you're saying. So I want to know what happened in the first 6 months. I don't know. You don't live here, so really it's not about you, is it? Let's go ahead to Jason. And
trustee. I'm also not a politician. I got into this as a public servant. I'm here to serve the people of the great village of Dolton. Having said that, I am Jason House, the senior trustee, mayor pro tem here for the village of Dolton. Together with my colleagues on the board, we have been steadfast in our efforts to stop the gross mismanagement and abuse of power that people have seen in the village today. So having said that, we've got many things that have been credibly reported in the news that it's just time to stop. As my brother Kevin Bowen says, we have to change the narrative around Dolton, and that begins today. I have to take a moment to pause and thank my colleagues on the board. We've become family, we are family, and without them, this does not happen. So I want to take a moment to give a great thanks to Trustees.
Okay. Now, you all ran as the dream team. I thought you all were already family. This is the type of thing, just as a public speaker, this is the type of thing that you really have to be aware of when you say that, because I just looking at the whole thing, I thought you all were a dream team coming in. Obviously, that dream team was not a dream team, but here we are 3 years later. They have become family. How? Because when you say this and then looking at 6 months, there were problems. It looks like we all became a family except for Tiffany. Right or wrong? Because this ain't, don't come at me about, you're a Tiffany supporter. I ain't voting. You are. So let's go.
People have done that. The owner of this establishment, Free Indeed, Dr. Nicole Scott, we want to make sure that we support this.
She wants to get her stuff up and running, her market up and running. Understandable. I'm going with whoever's gonna, help me get it. Not that that's a bad thing, but as a 501c3, bad move. You're supposed to nonpartisan. It was all good until you came up there.
We're going to respect the viewpoints of differing of people, and we're going to sit down in a manner that they don't feel threatened. We're going to have a vision that's not based on self-promotion or political ambiguity. It's going to be.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to pause quickly right there, but just listen to how many times, and look at his face. Jason, you don't look like you believe what you're saying. But the number of times that they use threaten and the whole narrative besides the spending is what? Tiffany's a bully. Okay.
Be a vision that's around unity for everybody in our town. It's going to be the unity with our park district, unity with the school board, unity with the library boards. We cannot forget our business community. What about our churches? We got to make sure all are included in this vision, and it can happen. It will happen.
What's the vision? What's the vision?
So today, I'm here to proudly announce my candidacy for mayor of Dolton.
Okay, so y'all can go listen to the rest of that if you want to. Yeah, you can listen to the rest of that, but we want to go into what happened. What happened here? Because I do hear Vegas trips. I do hear the lavish spending. Hey, again, I'm not knocking any of that. I don't have a dog in that race. And no, I don't think it's right. But when people are at odds, we need to know what started this. That's the only way to get a greater understanding as people outside of all of these people that want to be elected. Because at the end of the day, it's about what a village needs for their community, not what the elected officials need. What is the plan? I don't hear a plan. However, so lavish spending, we want unity, everything that he just said. Now let's see what happened.
Whoa, it's you, the Capital One Bank guy.
That's what they call me.
Mind if I get a selfie?
Dolton mayor says her dream team has become a nightmare. One day after dressing up as fictional villain Cruella de Vil on Halloween, Dolton mayor Tiffany Henyard was accused of being a bully by a member of the village board. Just another day in Dolton, where the honeymoon for Henyard has been short. In early May, Henyard was sworn in as Dolton's first female mayor after serving 8 years as a trustee. She said after her election that she and the board were a dream team. Henyard's first 6 months in office have seen good, bad, and ugly, and her rift with the board is not good for the community, she said. The people elected us to be the dream team, so we said, and now it's a nightmare, Henyard said Tuesday. She said residents have lost trust in government because of the discord. This is not a show. We're not the housewives of Atlanta. This is the village of Dolton, and we have to take care of the business we were elected to do. We are not doing that. The first 6 months of Henyard's tenure have not been dull. A special meeting in August was cancelled at the last minute. Trustees held a meeting outside of Village Hall without the mayor. Some trustees have not shown up for meetings, Henyard called, preventing a needed quorum to take action. Questions arose about Henyard hiring Dorothy Brown as village administrator and comments she made and later apologized for regarding a Dolton police officer fatally shooting 19-year-old Alexis Wilson. Residents have been angry and fearful after learning Henyard hired Lavelle Redmond, a registered sex offender, as an inspector, and have voiced their protests outside Village Hall. In a statement posted on Facebook, Henyard said reports that Redmond was going into people's houses was not true. She said he works on outdoor violations and has been a stellar employee. She said she would not jeopardize residents' safety, but said she believes second chances. Many people who have paid their debt to society face significant rejection from societies, communities, employers, and lack the opportunity to ingratiate back into society, especially in the brown communities, she wrote. Our stereotype needs to stop. During her tenure, protesters have gathered outside Henyard's home and Village Hall demanding she resign, and she has hired security for her well-being. But when asked about her first 6 months, she was upbeat, saying this job was everything she thought it would be. Overall, it's been great, she said. Sure, there have been a few hurdles. But it's expected. That happens with a new mayor. I'm doing the job for the will of the people right now. It's a whole lot of fun. I wouldn't trade it for anything. She said there is a balanced budget that was implemented on time, a deadline she said was never met during her years as a trustee. She said the village hired 8 police personnel and 3 firefighters and began the process of reopening Firehouse 2, which was shut down because of issues with the building. She said her second day on the job, she instituted police foot patrol duty and officers have gone door to door to meet residents. But if she sticks around for another 3.5 years, she knows she and the board need to mend some fences. This week, a village board meeting, conducted over the Zoom platform, began Monday, but 40 minutes into it there was a disagreement. The board voted 4-2 to adjourn even though there were still several items on the agenda. That meeting is set to resume at 5:30 p.m. Friday. During the meeting, Henyard announced citizens should communicate with the board via email, rather than the Zoom chat function. The chat function was disabled, though some trustees said that was unfair because chat has been used since early 2020 when the pandemic began. You can't just steamroll everything, Mayor, Trustee Edward Steve told her during the meeting. It's the wrong way to do it. You just can't bully your way through this stuff. It's all wrong. He told Henyard she has to respect what trustees say and communicate better with both trustees and residents. No one is bullying anyone, Henyard replied. I called all of you several times and not one returned my calls. So, stop it. Tell the truth, trustees. I reach out to you, you do not respond to me. All 6 trustees were contacted for comment for this article, and none responded. During the argument, Trustee Kiana Belcher wanted to know if it was legal for the village to hold a meeting where the citizens don't have a voice. Village Attorney Shantae Rains Welch said she would not give a legal opinion publicly and would give it confidentially. Belcher then called for the vote to adjourn. Belcher, Brittany Norwood, Jason House, and Tammy Brown voted to shut the meeting down, while Steve and Andrew Holmes supported continuing. Henyard scolded Belcher after the vote. The residents suffer because you guys want to be petty, because you don't get your way about me, stating that this is the way it's going to be done, Henyard said. You come here for the people, not to argue and bicker with Mayor Henyard. And you are really disrespectful, Trustee Belcher, so you have to grow up, please. Henyard said Tuesday she still has confidence everyone can work together. She said she will continue to try to work this through. I've made several attempts to mend my board, she said. I've called. I've texted. I've met with some of them. I even went as far as scheduling a retreat. I heard nothing back on that. I've exhausted all avenues, but I still believe there is hope for us. Dorothy Brown, who was clerk of the Circuit Court of Cook County from 2000 to 2020, said she was hired temporarily by Henyard and will be leaving at the end of the month. I have agreed with the mayor to give her 1 extra month, Brown said at the meeting. Now I can get on with my life like I planned when I retired. It's been wonderful working with all of you wonderful trustees. Jeff Vorva is a freelance reporter for the Daily Southtown.
Amendments.
Okay, so do you want to get explanation to the residents of why you agree with it?
No, I don't.
All right. Next, Trustee House. Steves?
Okay with it, yes, let's move forward.
Okay, Trustee House.
Yes.
All right. So we have a 5-0 as relates to resurfacing the streets. So thank you. Next on the agenda, we have discussion and possible action regarding resolution 21-012 for honorary street naming for Elder Edward Creighton. So everyone that knows Mr. Creighton knows that he really truly cared about community. He was a pillar of this lovely village, Dolton. Him and Ms. Creighton came.
Okay, what I want to point out before she continues, and I'm sorry to interrupt. I want to point out the behaviors. Look at everyone's faces, in particular Kiana Belcher. And as you watch this video and what is being said about Elder Creighton, look at these people's faces, particularly Trustee Kiana Belcher.
High school. They did after school activities. Did not know the Creightons. I'm pretty sure you heard about them. So Elder Creighton passed a couple weeks ago. So we wanted to honor him by naming a street after him. And I have a resolution that we have created. And I will now read that into record. Attorney Rice.
And Lashar. And whereas Elder Edward Earl Creighton was the first African American hired at Rockwell Graphics International, where he dedicated.
Okay, so I don't want this to be too long, but you know, this was July, and the article that was published in the Tribune was November. What happened? If we're gonna figure out where this went wrong, who the players are, we need to figure out what went wrong really by July. Because right here, I'm looking at Kiana Belcher looking like she's not feeling it. Edward Steve is not on the screen. When he was on the screen, he was scratching his head. And it's an unprofessional look at the very least. However, what happened? What happened in 6 months? What happened by July 19th? I'm confused. I think everyone is confused. This article was published November 3rd, 2021. What happened? What happened? You all are accusing, or it said one trustee accused her of being a bully. And that's been the narrative since. Back in 2021, per the Tribune, the trustees didn't have a comment then. Do we have a comment now? Do we know what happened? I believe Tiffany got a PR person. I believe Edward Steve stated that the mayor could not run meetings without people in the live chat. And Kiana Belcher clearly had some issues as well. I'm saying I believe that because that is my belief, but also you just saw it here. So I guess what I'm saying is I want to know, does inquiring minds would like to know what happened in the first 3 to 6 months before this lavish spending and the police detail, because we saw clearly in this article of the Tribune that Tiffany is the one that was saying this isn't a show. This isn't Housewives of Atlanta. I wonder that who's been on reality shows. See, when I go back, and this is clear. This is clearly the views and opinions of my own. But when you go back and you listen to certain things that Tiffany says, Mayor Tiffany Henyard says, in hindsight, it makes sense. When you're just hearing it without any comprehension or looking into it, it is very, very annoying. But why is 6 months in and she's saying this is not a show? Housewives of Atlanta. This is not to roam with love. She was trying to work with the trustees, and the trustees didn't have a comment, but that's okay. Now that Tiffany doesn't have a comment, it's not okay. So, look at both sides of it. Hopefully we can uncover what really went on during that first 3 to 6 months of Mayor Tiffany Henyard becoming the mayor, and then we can talk about the rest. But we're at the end here, and so since we're at the end where everybody wants her out, let's go back to the beginning and really uncover what started this. And that's all we got for today. And I am wishing everyone love and light. I hope that you do your own research, and let's figure out what's going on here, because we want the best. I know that I want the best for my community where my family still resides throughout the Southland and in Dolton. And I believe just as a larger community, we want the best for people. So let's figure out what went wrong in that first 3 to 6 months that caused all of this. See you next